Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. We're certainly pleased to have you here. It is Tuesday, March 20th, and we'll start our meeting by introducing you to your City Council.
Council members Kiley.
Here.
Neitzer.
Here.
Rolfing.
Here.
Selberg.
Here.
Starr. Staley.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
Erpenbach.
Here.
Councilors, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate it. In Sioux Falls, we start our City Council meetings with an invocation. And we're very, very pleased to have Pastor J.R. Worley. Pastor, welcome. Pastor is with Celebrate Church here in town. What we'd like you to do is to stand for the pastor's blessing, and then please remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor Worley.
God, I just want to thank you for your power. God, I want to thank you just the way that you move in and through our lives. God, you display yourself in our lives so differently, but God, we can all relate to you because, God, you're the same God to all of us. And God, I just thank you for the opportunities you give us day in and day out. God, you provide us with love and grace and mercy every single day. And God, we thank you. God, I thank you for the opportunity to meet here today, to just go over a variety of different things. And God, I just ask that as we meet today, that God, you just bless this time. That God, you'll give us the words to say, you give us the words to speak, and God, that your Spirit will just move. That God, we can keep our focus in you in these meetings. We can keep our focus in you in all the work that we do. God, and just let every single minute that we spend, every single second that we spend in work, let it be glorifying to you. God, we thank you for the work that you're going to do tonight. And we thank you for the work you're going to do throughout these next few weeks, days, months, and years. God, we just ask that you just look over Sioux Falls and just continue to bless this city. God, we need your guidance. God, and we need your love, and we need your grace, and we need your mercy. So, God, we ask that you just display that upon us today. And just give us the words to say. God, we pray these things in your powerful name. God, because we know that you provide. It might not be the answer that we always want, but God, you still answer our prayers, and God, we thank you for that. So God, we pray these things in your powerful name, in the powerful name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor Worley, thank you. Thanks, Council. Appreciate that. We'll now move to our consent agenda. Any motions or changes to that?
Move to approve.
Second, Selberg.
Thank you, Council Chair. Appreciate that. And Councilor Selberg, thank you as well. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Kiley.
Yes.
Neitzer.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Starr. Staley.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 7-0. Now our regular agenda tonight, Councilors, any changes to that?
Move to approve Erickson.
Second, Rolfing.
Council Vice Chair Erickson has made a motion to approve our agenda tonight, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. If there is no changes, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Kiley.
Yes.
Neitzer.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Thank you. Folks, welcome. So glad to have you here tonight. This is an opportunity for you to engage the council on really any topic that you deem important. If there is an agenda item later on that you want to talk to, we'd ask you to wait for that. However, just come forward, introduce yourself to the people of our town. We'd ask you to keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, and please just address the body as a whole versus individually. Welcome.
Scott Harrisman, Sioux Falls. A few months ago, I attended the Planning Academy. I only went to the first meeting. I didn't go to the second meeting. And not that the reason I didn't go to the second meeting wasn't because it wasn't a good presentation. They did a really nice job. It's just a lot of the stuff I already knew already. So I just kind of felt like if I was going to go to the second one that I kind of knew some of that stuff. But one thing interesting came up at the end of the meeting. We had a Q&A session. And there was a lot of citizens there that did probably learn a lot because, you know, they didn't know a lot about this. So there was a lot of questions. And one lady asked why Sanford has continued to buy up houses and destroy affordable housing in the central part of our town. And they went back and forth with the planning staff, and they all had different answers. And the conclusion basically came to Sanford's got money, so they get to do what they want to. And that's kind of how planning goes in this town. Whoever's got the most money gets to have what they want. We saw that out in 85th in Minnesota with a Walmart, a nice, quiet residential neighborhood. Now we got Burger King, car dealership, and a Walmart. You know, we need one on it. You know, every part of town needs a Burger King, a car dealership, and a Walmart. So that's how planning goes. I learned that quick in the first meeting. I didn't need to go to the second one. So I was listening this morning to one of you guys up here, and since I can't address who they are, and I'm gonna say this: I've been very happy with the counselors this time around in the election period, and the two that are not coming back. You guys have all been very good about keeping your opinions to yourself about candidates. I know that you're quietly supporting other people because I can look at the financial reports and I can see who you give money to. But you've all been very, very good about keeping your opinion to yourself, except for one of you, who consistently has been coming on radio programs and the TV and being very condescending towards the other candidates running. Your time is up on May 15th. It would be very nice if you could just stay out of the election and do what the other 8 up here are doing and staying out of it. Let the candidates say what they need to say, agree or disagree. That's really none of your business. You did your 8 years, and we thank you for it, and move along. It's getting real tiresome to hear it. The worst part about it is when you do criticize someone, you can't even say their name. At least have the gall to say, this is who I think is saying something wrong. So I really appreciate 8 of you for keeping your opinions to yourself and looking forward for our city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who wanted to engage the council? Welcome.
Hello, I'm Catherine Riffle. I'm an advocate for the homeless, the displaced, the distraught, street people. Have been for over 30 years. My time here in Sioux Falls is at least 25 years on the streets by myself and a few others. I have buried a lot of people on the streets that have frozen to death. I have been here before and introduced myself. I've introduced my cause, and I've introduced people that have been on the streets and homeless and beat around the bush. I've also taken the time, and let me add a little bit more. I only have 6 homeworks left to do before I have my master's in international business management. I've taken classes and studies where I've been a speaker. I've been a speaker for the VA, for pastoral meetings, et cetera, et cetera. I know what I'm doing. I'm good at what I do. I've started 8 organizations in town. And I've realized after the last 2 people, friends of mine, were frozen to death out on the streets recently, what it is that we're missing here in Sioux Falls. Over and above everything I've done, we used to have a place called the Kateri Room, and then the Good Shepherd Center. Our nickname for those places was the drop-in, quote and unquote, the drop-in. I have then helped to get these other organizations going where they could get housing, get up the ladder, get IDs, get medical assistance, et cetera, education, transportation, telephones, Obama phones, et cetera. Well, we don't have a drop-in anymore because our town people with our organizations, I guaranteed they'd work 2 to 3 years, and by the time they get to the 3rd year mark, they're locking doors. Now you go to the Good Shepherd Center. You're checked and frisked at the door. I've seen men lift their shirts up to bare skin. I've seen when you walk in that you're automatically arrested because you have a record. Chad, who runs the place, used to be a police officer. He plays favorites with people. You go over to the Union Gospel Mission, you got a minister toting a gun in his pocket. He's allowed to do that. That's not cool. And on top of all that, we have people that are on the streets that have got illnesses, diseases. They're broken. They have mental issues. But we leave them out there anyway. I realized when my city council was starting to let me down is when my lady friend a few years back had died and froze up there on the parking lot across from the library. And she froze to death on the side on the pavement. They used shovels to lift her body off the ground. How would you like that to be done to you? Shovels. Don't call the fire company, re-wet it, lift her up a little bit. Shovels. I had a man trying to commit suicide a couple weeks ago. It was me or nobody. 2 times in a row, he went to the same bridge. Then I had a young girl recently tell me her plight. She assured me that she was going to do what she was going to do. I begged her, please, just stick with your friends. Stay on the buddy system. Well, just the same day that she decided she was going to go over the bridge, so did he. But I managed to get to him a couple hours earlier than her. I saved him. I've helped him. I've got him medications now, but I couldn't save her. And then I myself, the last time I was here, I gave up coming in on plight of other people. And I spoke as an individual with the community here and how I felt and how broken I was. I have since been able to recoup like I have all these other years, and I'm back. I told you before, as long as them people are on the streets, so am I. I would like to use my education, if y'all don't mind, and do something for myself so I can get off housing and food stamps and medical assistance and fuel assistance. I would like to have a tiny little house on my own. I don't think after struggling for 14 years to get an education that I'm going to be deprived of that because I can't afford to retire off the streets while you all sit here doing nothing. Back to the word drop-in. Our community, our
Catherine,
town.
thank you very much, Catherine.
You need to open a drop-in.
Catherine, thank you very much.
You still need to open a drop-in.
Catherine, we appreciate you. Have a
But
good
are
night.
you listening to me? It's one thing to appreciate. You need a drop-in, an emergency center.
Catherine, thank you very much. Folks, is there anybody else who wanted to engage the council?
You better listen.
Welcome.
I'm going to press charges on you. I found a way to do it. I'm tired of my
Sierra,
friends
please come
dying
forward,
on the
Sierra.
street.
Thank you. Thank you, Sierra.
Sierra Broussard, Sioux Falls. You know, the chief of police last week had, this was a political move here, getting the state and everybody involved in this, that it shouldn't have been a political move here. So I am working hard on the streets to get that petition drive to get this chief of police out of here, so I don't care who the next mayor is, he's gone. So when the chief of police said that he was for the people and he wanted to hear the people out and this, that, the other, so we're going to play some numbers here. So when you call, this is what they do to us, okay? And not just only me, but when you rock the boat and you rock City Hall and you're trying to get the crime off the streets and get the police to do what they're supposed to be doing, you call the non-emergency number, they block you. So what do? You go sit at the police station and you don't leave until you get an answer, okay? So then when you call the police station here, you get a voicemail. It's been blocked. So Chief Burns is a bunch of baloney. Okay? Then you call the city attorney's office because you got code enforcement issues that's trying to say that They can't go in an unsecured building because it's against the Constitution. Well, I'm going to be fighting that too, because you can go into an unsecured building. So what do? Because I was sitting into the office 2 weeks ago, but she was in debate, the one with the blonde hair. What do? They block your number. What does code enforcement do? They block your number. When me, Teresa, and Pat went on that ride-along for the crime in high-crime area neighborhoods, the next day they were roadblocking and blocked numbers. I can still get through to the police department. There's a way to do it. So when Chief Burns says that, oh, we're here for the people, no, you're not. No, you're not, because once when you put fire to that fuel and you start with that police department, they block you out. I know. I've been dealing with them since 2014. I know my Burns like the back of my hand. So getting the chief of police out, it's going to happen. Either way or another, it's going to happen. You don't do this to citizens at all. Now, last week, I don't believe that the meeting should have been political. It was a political move, it was. Getting the state involved and having the chief of police here was nothing but a political reality show. That's what it was. I want to thank Teresa Staley for getting the sheriff department involved, because nobody invited the sheriff department here anyways. Now, do I believe that the drug users are carrying weapons? Of course. I got to go testify in court because I had an altercation with a drug user, pulled out a switchblade, and then a big rod, and then a 9mm pistol. Yes. Does the citizens need to get involved in here? Yes, they do. I have policemen telling me that they're going to arrest me when I do citizens arrest, okay? So I had to clarify that with the police. So let me clarify when Christine said, we want you to call the police. You know what? Let me tell you something here. I have seen it where 911 was backed up for 31 minutes on 911 calls on a weekend. When I'm out on the streets and they're fist fighting in the middle of the street, you think I'm going to be on 911 waiting for them to arrive? No, you stop it, you detain them, and you wait for the police to come. Many of times they would run down the street, and the police said, we can't do nothing because they're running. We don't have probable cause. So I go chase them, and I throw them on the ground, and they say, okay, let's do citizens arrest, put them to jail. Let's do it. I'm telling you, not all the policemen are bad here, but there are some of them that just don't like to do their job, and I got to push the issues for them to do it. Now, I planted myself in these hotels and motels, and I can't get into the investigations of it. But I've been at these low-income Sioux Falls Inn, Motel 6, Nights Inn. Now I'm going to the higher-end motels and hotels. And we got to have a city ordinance where we can block people from living there long periods of time. If you only knew what goes on into these hotels and motels, it is not a good environment for kids at all. So the next mayor and council needs to work on putting that CHIP program into place for hotel and motel living. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. We appreciate it. Folks, anybody else? Welcome.
Greetings. I'm David Zokaitis, and I've got two topics that are pretty well connected. At one of these candidate meetings, people talked about transparency as though it was a magic cure-all. But you can have a transparent, secret agenda. And I'll talk about how that happens to work. People have this innate ability to pretend that everything is okay. Sometimes it's valuable, and sometimes it's not to our benefit. So I'll connect these two concepts here in a little while because they seem so divergent. People are really amazing. We thrive under really untenable conditions all the time. And somehow we just don't notice that our lives are in peril. And everything's fine. And somehow that gets us by from generation to generation. So, for example, if you go out to the Black Hills or Yellowstone, you may find that you are standing on top of a supermassive volcano that's going to blow sooner or later. But nobody cares. I mean, we don't worry about it. And we know that there's all kinds of stuff floating around in outer space ready to slam into the Earth. We don't really care. People build delicate houses on Hurricane Island, and pretend it's not going to be a problem. And the Japanese built a nuclear reactor in a tsunami zone. And then, life goes on. We just don't worry about all this kind of stuff. And more examples, we know the glaciers are melting and atmospheric CO2 is increasing, but global warming is not real. How people can deny that, it's kind of beyond me. And then, and then we've got problems with pollution, but who the heck knows what mass extinction is? Anyway, so people want to not know about big problems. It's a survival mechanism. Makes life so much easier. Now, you can have a bad deal in broad daylight if you do it carefully. You can have a public contract and public negotiators, but you can have secret motivation behind all of this. And if you do it really well, most everybody will miss this subtle secret agenda. So last week, talking about strange things going on, there was a city council meeting, agenda item 8, some surplus real property sold at 90% of appraised value. Why the 10% discount? Still a mystery. I want to know who owed who a favor. But the council approved this unanimously. So we've got some public available information, but some secrecy going on in the background. And we really ought to try to figure out just what in the world is going on. Here's another example. This one's even better. A lot more money involved too. The city could build, according to the Walker Report, we could build a 692 stall ramp for, $10 million, give or take a little bit. Instead, we're building effectively a 400 stall ramp for $21 million. Twice as much money, half the space. Really looks suspicious. There's some secrecy that makes it look bad, but really what we need to do is look a little deeper. I think the real boondoggle is the public-private partnership. The problem here is that we've got public expense fueling private profit. Now, most people don't really believe that this kind of thing could actually occur because of that tendency to believe that everything is okay, which is why that I've got these two topics kind of glued together. But there it is, folks. There's a hidden agenda hiding underneath a little level of transparency. And of course, I recommend that we see the truth in front of us. It's right there. And we should reclaim government for the people, hopefully with government funding of elections. And as always, we should try to enjoy nature. Here's a picture, looks like, I think it's by the airport, Big Sur River. And with that, of course, I bid you all a good evening.
Good evening, David. Folks, anybody else welcome?
Hey, I'm Stephen Ciano. Again, nothing positive has been done since my prior presentations, and I do hold all of you responsible for your inaction and harm and death resultant of that. You can look up chain conspiracy. Don't trust your city attorneys. Seek private advice or look it up yourself, the charges that I make. And I've sent you some letters. I did have difficulty coming today. I fell earlier because my legs give out. So it is a constant problem. And in response to my efforts to get help, I've had some private meetings, including people that have been complained about by me. The Human Relations Office is supposed to deal with discrimination, which, as I understand it, although discrimination means choosing, but what that's about is exhibiting bias unduly for various reasons, personal reasons, whatever, inappropriately. And my disability and my belief system are the bases of what would be called discrimination against me, and I get referred to others, to police, and the police that handle that are hooked in with the same human relations city attorney. Now, I have sent you letters. I want all public letters put public. The public has a right to know what I've been telling you people. I've also been disturbed by the difficulties with CityLink. I don't know if you're in charge of that or if that's a private entity, but the scheduling is consistently misleading. It's off. It's so frustrating to try to get something. Things need to be public. And somebody needs to do something about Falls Community Health to get, because they know what's going on, to force the VA or Social Security Administration to pay for my medical care, because it's clear that and they certainly are aware, that the VA tried to kill me with their associates, and they will likely continue because they don't like the nature of my disability claim, citing misconduct, malfeasance in the military, which caused my disability still being covered up since '78. So we need a public bulletin board. There's a lot of people don't come here. It's too difficult for them, or they're scared. What they have to say, they have a right to say. Please put it on the internet. Let them even anonymously present whatever issues they have, not just showing up here. I have difficulty standing, difficulty breathing, and I have done it of necessity, of desperation. People have suffered and died, and your preacher, I think, should say just that you people should stop lying and misdirecting and start working for your constituents. Otherwise, maybe you should be smited, to put it biblically. And Terence Butler, by the way, said, think it is true there's people like you that crucified Christ in the 70s. And Ron Evans, Zager and Evans, had that 1969 hit in the year 2525. Maybe God's going to call for the judgment because of your behavior, people in general. It's not just you. There's a mindset, there's a culture. I've explained this. And anthropologist Jules Henry has, in '63, put out Culture Against Man. I recommend it. There's much more that you could educate your people. Now, also I want prosecution. The city attorney certainly can refer the matter to state attorney, to police, whatever. Things I have pointed out, and I want them to be public.
Stephen, thank you very much. Folks, anybody else? Thank you. Item 36.
Item 36, new 2017-18 package malt beverage license for Wangbugal Matambera and Cynthia Yene, Glow Mini Market, 1300 West 12th Street, cup not required, pending final inspections per building services. 37, transfer of 2017-18 package malt beverage license from Berenice Garcia Navarrete and Alberto Carranza, Mikasa Latina Mexican Store, 809 South Marion Road, to Mikasa Latina Mexican Store, LLP, Mikasa Mexican Store, 809 South Marion Road, cup not required. Item 38, special one-day malt beverage license for Sioux Falls Cyclones Incorporated to be operated at Riverdale Park, 2000 East 24th Street for a fundraiser run on April 7th, 2018.
Good evening.
Jamie, welcome.
Jamie Palmer with licensing. Item 36 is a new request for a mini mark for a packaged malt beverage license. Item 37 is a transfer of ownership from person to into a corporation. And item 38 is a special one-day request that have met all the state law requirements. It was also reviewed by the Special Events Committee, and the applicant is present if you have questions.
Jamie, thank you. Council?
Move to approve.
Council Chair, thank you.
Second, Rolfing.
Council Rolfing, thank you as well. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Kiley?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 39.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, April 3rd, 2018 at 7 p.m. for item 39. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances for Chapter 156, floodplain management.
Jeffrey?
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Jeff Schmidt on planning items this evening. Floodplain management for the city of Sioux Falls is trying to address flooding, not drainage. And a flood is water over and into your property. It's not backing up. What I'm trying to address right now is in regards to, we do allow flood proofing in the city of Sioux Falls, where people can flood proof their structures to try to address how their structures are taken care of. Some of the issues that we have with floodplain management is we're trying to protect, look at public money, rescuing relief, and trying to always, in the end, ensuring that property buyers are notified about floodplain areas. We try to do this, again, through restricting or prohibiting where certain areas are at, again, protecting, controlling, and making sure that people know where these areas are at. Anybody that looks to do a structure or development within a flood area is required to get a development permit from us. This is not one of the changes today. I'm just kind of giving some of the background. And so they come into us and we do a staff review and we make a determination on if they have to do any work. So from that standpoint, some of the things that flood proofing addresses is they can look at elevation certificates, designed openings, fill placements, and a hydraulic and hydrology analysis. In the end, what I'm really trying to do is, this is the amendment that's being proposed tonight and to go to second reading. Uninhabitable structures, structures that people do not occupy and live in, for example, bathroom, restrooms in parks. This is what we're working on. Variances would be allowed for accessory structures as long as they do not impact upstream or downstream parcels, as well as if these accessory uninhabitable structures would represent a low cost on any potential damage as well as any potential public expense. So again, that's the background. If they did have impacts, then we would not allow them, but as long as they can come in and continue to show that they don't impact upstream or downstream and they don't have a big potential damage or public expense, we would, through this amendment, be able to allow a variance to a bathroom in a public park.
Jeffrey, thank you. Appreciate it. Council, any? Yes, Council Vice Chair Erickson.
Thank you. My question is in regards to the design standard that would be around that. So, for example, the structure that you showed us is all concrete.
Correct.
It's rock on the outside, so it's very durable, one, and it's not going to be, if it is flooded, it's not going to be wet sheetrock, things like that. The other, so I'm curious about the design standard of it, and then also I don't know the correct terminology for the industry, but the flow-through, whatever those are called, if they're required to have those.
Designed openings. So we need to make sure we have designed openings, and then we want to look at what the placement is how high or low it is. And again, this one's not even in the city of Sioux Falls, but you can see where they have ramps. We want to look at if and when it does have damage, that's that first part. What's the cost of potential damage? If they make it out of wood or sheetrock, then there's going to be a lot of damage. When they're made out of building materials that you basically can wash off and can be reusable, the damages are less. So then we would look at those things in building materials and allow them to go ahead.
So that would, may I follow up?
Oh, please.
So that would be in the design standard and
Yes.
the approval process of it, so
Correct.
it's not just, yes, here you go do whatever you want.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Councilor Neisert, sir.
Thanks. First of all, many times we call those louvers. The thing to open and close and let the water through. Louvers. Louvres. Anyway, I will tell you that over the years on the Board of Adjustment, this would come up. There'd be a park that would be, they'd have to replace a bathroom or something, and so this has already been happening, and it's put us in a bit of a pickle where we'd have to really be able to justify that it was something that would pass muster. So I think this is really just going to codify what's being done and make life easier. And as was stated, what we looked for was, for example, it was built in such a way it wasn't going to get carried away, and not get destroyed and brings things downstream, and it wasn't, and it had the louvers so it could flow through and all that. So I think it's a good thing, and I will move the second reading.
Councilor Neisert, thank you. Council Vice Chair, thank you as well. Councilor Staley.
A question about what's happening right now. I'm thinking about Riverdale Park. That's considered a floodplain, correct? That area down there?
Yes, I apologize. This map is a little hard to read in this large scale, but this is the map that we make available on our website and make available to the public. But just in case a question came up about the flood map, everything along the Big Sioux River is along, as well as Skunk Creek along the west side of Sioux Falls, those are floodplains. So the area of Riverdale Park on the east side.
Right, there's a bathroom down there.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's not, that's out of compliance then?
No, it is in compliance currently today because it's was built to today's standards, but it's really in regards to when they come in and get the permits, do we make sure that they have louvers and vents and that they're low building materials?
How often do you find a homeowner whose home is not in the floodplain but their backyard is? Does that ever happen? Where they might be wanting to put in a shed in the back of their lot?
I don't know if I can give you a sheer number. Quite a bit. Frequently. In the southwest part of town, when we recently just had this discussion, we had approximately 300 properties in the southwest part of town that were in the floodplain, like you just mentioned, but about 275 of them we were able to get removed because their structures weren't in, but their property was. So that's a very specific geographic location that I can give you an answer on.
So that means if my house wasn't in my backyard was, I couldn't just put up a traditional shed then?
No, because
right?
You're still in the floodplain, but you can work through FEMA's regulations to get your structure removed from the floodplain, even though your property is in the floodplain.
Okay.
A roll call vote, please.
Council members Kiley?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 40.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, April 3rd, 2018 at 7 p.m. for item 40. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Chapter 160 zoning, subchapter on-premises sign regulations.
Jeff?
On-premise signs are signs that are on a property's owner premise, and I'm trying to bring this forward again as I did at informational to address this Supreme Court ruling. It's a very complex issue. There's a lot of concerns and issues here. Council has taken some opportunity to raise some concerns to me, and I'd like to try to continue to bring those forward. Really what we're trying to address is the content of the sign. We can't regulate that. That's discriminatory. That's a First Amendment right. All we can regulate is time, place, and manner. I'm going to have to change these colors. What we can look at is where they're located, how long they're located there, and the type of sign. But we can't regulate what the sign says. So the things that we currently are looking at trying to amend with this new proposed zoning ordinance is we have a huge section of our sign code since 1980s of exemptions from getting sign permits. For example, these ones here, auto service stations, temporary boulevard signs, construction signs, political signs. These all are signs that are allowed on your property, but they do not have to get a sign permit, as well as changeable signs, banners, window signs, menu signs, and gas station signs. What I'm proposing to do is move the automobile service station signs and the menu signs from exemptions into changeable signs so that they can be allowed, they'll be permitted, but the same type of signage would be allowed. And again, this is already in code, but we already have talked about on-premise. Signs are either non-commercial or they're commercial. And non-commercial signs include things such as political or religious signs. Commercial messages are anything that serves a service or a business, and those can be defined by federal law. So current exceptions include these types of things: construction signs, which is a commercial sign, or a political campaign sign, which is a non-commercial sign. And how I'm proposing to move forward with the amendment is that we would allow non-commercial signs, any of these examples here, any types of these and many more, but non-commercial signs on your premise in a residential area, the where, up to 9 square feet, how, up to 60 days. In a non-residential area, a commercial, office, industrial, you could have 32 square feet for 60 days. If you're a commercial yard sign, if you're a real estate sign or a construction sign or any other type of commercial business, in a residential district, you could have your standard 32 square feet in 60 days. In a non-residential district, up to 100 square feet. And that's what I'm proposing to move forward.
Jeffrey, thank you. Councilor Staley?
So Jeff, just for clarification, you're not changing who needs to get a permit?
Correct, I am not.
That nothing.
Right, and I'm trying not to, again, I'm keeping the amount of signage they get and the time frames and the placement of what they get. I'm just changing how they're worded, or so people right now come in and say, I want a real estate sign. I'm like, we don't call them real estate signs anymore. They're called commercial signs.
And one more.
Sure.
What about profanity on a sign?
It's a First Amendment right. We try not to regulate that. We'd rather they not, but.
They can. They can really basically have anything they want to then. Is that what
It's against our community standards, but I don't have a law that says they can't.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Councilor Neinsert.
First of all, to sound really wonky and dorky, I will read Gilbert versus Arizona. It's really fascinating, and especially the concurring opinions. Food for thought. Can you have? Okay, so what if I had a sign that that would be more or less off-premise? For example, in my front yard, I had a sign that for my church that talked about, whatever the Easter egg hunt that we're doing in a couple weeks. Does that count, or is that?
It's a very good question. Okay, so how we would have to read that is, would we be reading the content of that sign to make that determination? And then we really, as you've read the Supreme Court ruling, you can't read the content to make a determination on the content. So if it's your sign, it's on premise. It's on your premise. You're making that determination. So if you're going to be saying, I'm selling Coca-Cola here, then it's going to be a commercial sign and we're going to have to regulate it. It's really difficult. I don't know if we would be able to make that determination. We'd have to, I can't give you a straight answer, Greg, and you kind of know that because you've read the Supreme Court ruling. It's not clear.
The law is the law, but it really gives me a lot of heartburn.
What Greg's referencing is their off-premise signs is where you typically see a billboard right now, and it's on somebody's property, but they advertise something that's somewhere else. And the Supreme Court rulings have said, you don't have to allow those anywhere in your community. Get rid of them. And then you only have on-premise. But we allow off-premise signs in our community. So now how can you allow on and off premise signs unless you read the sign, and then they say, but don't read the sign. And the judges rule that way. Don't read the sign, but make a determination on what it says.
Yeah, and I would just say, and I think it was Justin Kagan's opinion, she concurred, but she said that this is so rigid, we're opening up we're going to create a huge mess, and we're going to be back revisiting this, but it is what it is.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Business, let's go. You're talking about selling things.
Yes.
So, like rummage sale signs in your yard. Someone's having a rummage sale.
Right.
Is that considered a business sign?
That would be commercial versus non-commercial, yes.
But that doesn't matter.
It does matter because we would regulate it as a commercial sign, and it's in a residential area or a non-residential area.
Right, but we're not changing anything. If somebody has a rummage sale last year versus after we passed this, nothing's changed for them.
No.
That's what I'm saying. We're not going to do anything to hurt somebody having a rummage sale. Right? We're
not changing it, no. I can't tell you if we're going to hurt it or not. We're not changing.
They're allowed to have a sign
Yes,
saying
ma'am.
they don't have to get a permit for that.
No.
Yeah.
Council, would anybody want to set a date of hearing, second reading for Tuesday, April 3rd for this item?
So moved.
Thank you, Council Chair.
Second, Selberg.
Thank you, Councilor Selberg. Appreciate it. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr? Yes. Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 41.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, April 3rd, 2018 at 7 p.m. for item 41. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Chapter 160 zoning, subchapter parking regulations.
Thank you, Council. My relatively easy one is in regards to parking lots. We're amending the parking lots for motor vehicle sales lots. If they're next to residential, we're going to continue to regulate them and add the landscaping that they have in place right now. But if they're away from residential areas, we're trying to relax the regulations a little bit. Again, as I've highlighted, this is for motor vehicle sales lots, not for retail lots. The standards that we're changing is we've removed the 167 parking space cap. We found that the size of the structures really regulates in place for that since 2014, and we've used the above and below 250. If you're above and below 250, that's what size regulates. So in the end, the conditional use standards are for motor vehicle sales. If you're greater than an acre and closer than 250 feet from single family homes, twin homes, you have to have this higher standard of landscaping. If you're a storage motor vehicle and more than 250, then you again have to regulate and have more standards next to residential. If you are, again, this is my best image, on the left-hand side, you're next to single family, we're going to put all the landscaping standards in. On the right-hand side, you're away from single family. They park the cars themselves. They don't have to put the landscaping in the lot themselves. They can park the cars. They don't have to stripe them. At the same time, I am going to mention that council did review this. I did have an error on an exemption for bed and breakfast. I'm going to amend that and bring it back to this council. So,
Jeffrey, thank you. Councilors, Councilor Nitzert.
Would you need a remand for that, or would you like a motion to remand it to the Planning Commission?
Yes.
Or?
Yes, after discussion. Or if there's no discussion, then just remand it.
Okay. Yeah, I did find that for what it's worth, but I do have a question about, so for striping,
yes,
display of cars, like at the car dealership, just display of new cars,
right,
are those not a parking space and they don't have to be striped?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
only the required parking spaces. If you're a customer or your employees, those have to be parked and striped. But for all of the, again, help me understand and help me to, if they're parking the cars, those are the displays, those don't need to be striped because they parked them.
Yes.
Those don't need to be striped.
And did you propose to change the regulations of the setback up against any front yard setback up against a street if it's a display space instead of parking, or did that not change?
No, we did not change that. We added the increased buffer yard when they're next to single family. We increased it from the 30 to the 45-foot buffer yard.
The billion case, for
Correct,
example.
the billion case on the left-hand side there.
I will move to remand this to the Planning Commission.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor, my apologies.
I move to remand it to the Planning Commission.
Thank you,
Councilor Erpenbach seconded.
Councilor, thank you as well. There's been a motion to remand, has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Councilors, thank you. That is passed 8-0. Item 42.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, April 3rd, 2018 at 7 p.m. for item 42. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located south of West Benson Road and east and west of North Westport Avenue from the I-1 Light Industrial District to the S2 Institutional Campus Plan Unit Development District, petition number 7983-2018, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 5-0.
Jason?
Jason Bieber, representing Planning and Building Services. This is an application by Sanford Health. It's located south of West Benson Road and east and west of North Westport Avenue. It's roughly 324 acres, And the purpose of this rezoning is Sanford is looking at continued development of their Sanford Sports Complex.
Jason, thank you very much. Councilors, questions, comments, motions?
Move
Set a
approval.
date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, April 3rd at 7 p.m.
Thank you. Councilor Rolfing, thank you as well. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 43.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, April 3rd, 2018 at 7 p.m. for item 43. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota rezoning property located at the southwest corner of East 26th Street and South Veterans Parkway from the AG Agriculture District to the RS Single Family Residential, Suburban RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential, Suburban RA2 Apartment Residential, Moderate Density, RA3 Apartment Residential, High Density, O Office, LW Live Work, C2 Commercial, Neighborhood and Streetcar, C3 Commercial, Community and CN Conservation Districts, petition number 8039-2018, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 5-0.
The applicant here is Eric Wilson. The owner is Jay Kappaman. It is located at the southwest corner of East 26th Street and South Veterans Parkway. It's roughly 218 acres of property that was just recently annexed into the City of Sioux Falls last month. The purpose of this rezoning is the applicant is looking at constructing a future single-family, multifamily, office, and commercial development.
Jason, thank you. Councilors?
I'd move to set second reading for Tuesday, April 3rd at 7 p.m.
Second, Erpenbach.
Thank you. Councilor Rolfing's made that motion to set the date of hearing, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 44.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, April 3rd, 2018 at 7 p.m. for item 44. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota rezoning property located north of East Madison Street and east-west of North Veterans Parkway from the LW Live Work and C2 Commercial, Neighborhood and Streetcar Districts to the CN Conservation District, petition number 8092-2018, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 5-0.
The applicant owner is the City of Sioux Falls. This is located north of East Madison Street and east and west of North Veterans Parkway. It's just under 10 acres in size. The purpose of this rezoning is the city is looking at constructing a future regional detention pond on these two lots.
Thank you, Jason. Councilors, anybody want to set a date of hearing, second reading for Tuesday, April 3rd?
Mr. Mayor, I would move to set second reading for Tuesday, April 3rd.
Thank you, Councilor Starr.
Second, Erickson.
Thank you, Council Vice Chair Erickson. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 45.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, April 3rd, 2018 at 7 p.m. for item 45. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota rezoning property located south of East 57th Street and west of South Greystone Avenue from the LW Live Work District to the CN Conservation District, number 8093-2018, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 5-0.
The applicant and owner is also the City of Sioux Falls. It is located east of Southeastern Avenue, south of East 57th Street, and then west of South Greystone Avenue. It's roughly 36.1 acres. You can see by the existing aerial here, it is an existing detention area owned by the city. The purpose of this is we're looking at just matching the zoning with the existing detention pond use.
Jason, thank you.
Like to set second reading for Tuesday, April 3rd.
Second, Erickson.
Councilor Rolfing's made that motion, seconded by Councilor Vice Chair Erickson. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 46.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, April 3rd, 2018 at 7 p.m. for item 46. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located south of East 69th Street and west of Southeastern Avenue from the AG Agriculture and RS Single Family Residential Suburban Districts to the RS Single Family Residential Suburban and RD2 Townhome Residential Suburban Districts, petition number 8102-2018, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 5-0.
The applicant and owner here is Brady Hyde. It's located south of East 69th Street, would be just east of the Sioux Falls Christian High School and west of South Southeastern Avenue. It's about 40.8 acres. The purpose of this rezoning is the applicant is looking at constructing a future twin home townhome residential adjacent to 69th Street, and then they will construct some future single family uses to the south of that.
Jason, thank you. Council, would anybody want to set a date of hearing, second reading for this item for Tuesday, April 3rd?
So moved.
Second.
Council Chair Cotty's made that motion, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Roll call vote, please.
Council members Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 47.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, April 3rd, 2018 at 7 p.m. for item 47. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located at 617 South Main Avenue from the RA2 Apartment Residential Moderate Density District to the RT1 Single Family Residential Traditional District, petition number 8107-2018, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 5-0.
The applicant and owner here is Kathy Knobloch. It's located at 617 South Main Avenue, just south of 14th Street. It's about 0.17 acres in size. The purpose of this rezoning is we're looking at matching the current single-family use with the zoning of the property.
Jason, thank you. Would anybody want to set a date of hearing, second reading for Tuesday, April 3rd for this item?
So moved.
Second, Selberg.
Council Chair, thank you. Council Silberg, thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 48.
A resolution of the City of Sioux Falls supporting a more inclusive community.
Councilor Starr?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome.
Couple of things with this. I think it's so important that we state who we are as a community, what we believe. Oftentimes people say that words don't matter, but words really do matter. And being able to share what we believe, not only as an elected group, as a council, it's, like I said, important to state what we believe. This resolution does two really simple things for our community. One, we want people to know that we are a great place in Sioux Falls to live, work, and play, no matter what your background is or who you are. You're one of us. We're one of each other. And the second thing is that we won't stand or tolerate discrimination. We need to say it, and we need to believe it, and then we need to walk the walk. This resolution doesn't change or put teeth in or do any of those things, but it points out who we are as a community and one of those many pillars of what we believe in our community. And that's important. It's important with all the things that go on in our community each day, the good, the bad. This is who we are. We need to treat our friends and neighbors with the respect that they deserve, and then we need to get to know them so that they become one of us, and we get a chance to bring those things together. So without a lot more, I don't want to spend a lot of time, but I know that one of the people who brought this to me, Mr. Caraway, was going to read the resolution here in a minute during public input as part of this resolution. So.
Councilors, thank you, folks. It's a great opportunity for you to engage the council on this topic. Would anybody be interested in doing that? Welcome.
Sierra Broussard, you remember my first public input? I said, when you come into Sioux Falls, it's nothing but whites and Christians here. There's no diversity. So, having said that, I had said in my first meeting that people that have top paying jobs is nothing but the whites. You don't see blacks, you don't see Mexicans, you don't see Latinos or anybody on a police department force. You see 2 black people on a fire department force. That's it. Some people that applied for high-paying jobs, and I'm sure that one of them can back me up on it, they tell you because you can legally discriminate by saying you're overqualified. I sat here in the first meeting when I first came here and said discrimination would make your head fall off here. It's time that we get everybody top-paying jobs. So if someone has a doctor's degree, then they should be getting doctor's degree jobs and doctor's degree money here. We don't see it here. I have spoke to the chief many of times on why we don't have diversity in that police department. I know we have GLBT people because I'm aware of 2 police officers. I'm not going to mention because it's nobody's business. But we don't have enough diversity on there. Now, they said because the test is very challenging and it's hard. Then I went to the fire department and said, why we only have 2 blacks and all whites? And they said, because some people cannot pass the test. Now, we need to face it. It is very discriminatory here. I said that from 2014 here. When you park your car along by Walmart, and you're Hispanic or you're Native or you're Asian or you whatever, and the white people's going to sit there and honk their horn 7 times. But you know what I say? I say, oh, I'm not stealing cars today, maybe tomorrow. Or you go back you go in the post office and the white person looks at you from behind because you're a colored person, and they're going to take their purse and put it this way. And then I respond to them and say, I retired from purse snatching to get back at them. So it's very racist here. It's discriminatory, but it's discriminatory on a different level than what I'm used to on the South. And like I told everybody here, since 2014, the Black Panthers and the KKK is alive back in the Deep South. We don't have it here. And like I told this group of people in the back of me, all of the minorities need to get together as a group and start fighting for their beliefs here. I've been saying this since 2014. We can't even get a protest here. People's not protesting here because they end up in the county jail for beating the hell out of their wives or their girlfriends or they're selling dope and they're getting caught up in stuff here. And it makes everybody in the community of color look bad. So I say it, and I'm still going to say it. The Parks Department, for one, is all white people, part-time people in that Parks Department. And on the Parks Board, we have nothing but your rich white people on there. Where is the diversity? Where is the handicapped people? Where is the LGBT people? Where's the blacks, the Mexicans, the Latinos, where they're at? And I'm not trying to be biased here, but we have to talk about these issues. City Hall doesn't like to talk about crime, and they sure don't like to talk about this issue because it's a sensitivity issue here. But we need, when they apply for city jobs here, and they have the education to get $120,000, $130,000 a year, don't put them driving a bus, a city bus. Many of times, I've seen it on unemployment discrimination here. You're overqualified or you're not qualified enough. So if we could have the opportunity for them to put applications into the city without having the city tell them that they're overqualified, give them that chance to get that pay scale that they went to school for, that would be great. So that's all I got to say about this.
Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Cooper Caraway. I'm the president of the Sioux Falls AFL-CIO. We represent over 30 local affiliated unions and thousands of union members. If it pleases the council, I'll read through the resolution real quick and then offer a short statement of support. All right.
Thank you.
A resolution of the City of Sioux Falls supporting a more inclusive community. Whereas the city and residents of Sioux Falls establish that the city is an inclusive community, welcome the contributions of all sectors, and celebrate our diversity. And whereas both the state of South Dakota and the city have made important advances in the struggle against racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia, and related intolerance by enacting South Dakota Codified Law 2013, Human Rights, and Sioux Falls City Ordinance 9.003, Act of Discrimination. And whereas racism and racial discrimination threaten human development because of the obstacles that they pose to the fulfillment to basic human rights of survival, security, development, and social participation. And whereas the city and residents of Sioux Falls combat hate and its representatives while promoting equality, inclusiveness, and equitable environments. And whereas municipal jurisdictions are often laboratories for determining public approaches to the challenges that face residents and businesses. And whereas the ability of the citizens of Sioux Falls to establish and maintain a welcoming and inclusive community and to foster respect for all persons, regardless of race, religion, creed, gender identification, sexual orientation, age, disability, ancestry, and country of origin. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, that this City Council of democratically elected representatives represent and support all members of the community and condemn acts of hate, violence, or discrimination. Now, in the chambers, if you are here in support of this resolution, will you please stand up and show the council? Thank you. Now, many of our workers, many of the working people in Sioux Falls were alarmed and very concerned about some of the language coming from Pierre this past legislative session, and, to be honest, from Washington, D.C. as well. We have been hearing hateful and bigoted language in the form of resolutions, laws, and ordinances coming from Pierre this past legislative session. Now, to be honest, we're used to hearing it from Washington, D.C. We expect to hear a hateful rhetoric from Washington, D.C. But when it's coming from our neighbors, we get very concerned. You see, I represent over 30 local affiliated unions. Many of those unions were founded over 100 years ago by immigrants and by refugees. Immigrants and refugees were thrown in jail in this country to fight for the right of workers to organize in their workplace and negotiate a fair return on their work. Immigrants and refugees were publicly executed in Chicago, fighting for an 8-hour workday. Immigrants and refugees sacrificed their life so that my 5-year-old daughter could spend her childhood getting an education instead of being shipped off to a mine or a mill. And we know in the labor movement that the only way to combat racism, xenophobia, and all forms of hate is with inclusiveness, with diversity, and with solidarity. And at this time, I invite the City Council to join with working families all across Sioux Falls in supporting this resolution. Thank you.
Cooper, thank you. Folks, thank you. Thank you. Good job. Cooper, thank you. Sierra, thank you. Folks, we just ask you, and just to be respectful of the council here, but we really appreciate you. You're speaking, Cooper. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Council members, Mayor Huther. My name is Taniza Islam. I'm an immigration lawyer here in Sioux Falls, resident of Sioux Falls since 2012, and also the executive director for the South Dakota Voices for Justice. Our mission is to empower South Dakotans with accurate information about immigrants, refugees, Islam, and Muslims, so that we as a community can fight against bigotry, xenophobia, and Islamophobia specifically. I'm very sad to report to you today that since we've been tracking events of Islamophobia and immigrant refugee bigotry, 14 events have been held here in the city of Sioux Falls. And to see this resolution brings me hope and gives our communities that we represent a sense of belonging. So thank you, Councilman Starr, for proposing this ordinance, and I hope that you understand the nature of the rhetoric that is happening not across the country, but right here in South Dakota, right here in Sioux Falls, coming from our elected officials within our state, those who are running for office as well. So thank you for this proposal, and that I urge you to vote for this today. Thank you.
Denise, thank you. Folks, anybody else? Welcome.
I'm David Zokaitis, and I'd like to support this resolution because it just seems like a really nice way to treat other people. I mean, you know, we're all just here on the planet, living together, doing the best we can, and it's good that we can get everybody together and be happier and more peaceful. But it might also be worthwhile to note why we have forces of division among us. Not everybody wants us to be connected. If there are people who want power and control, one way to do that is to keep everybody disconnected. And if you have a small minority, that's who gets the bum deal. So understanding political motivation and greed is a good backdrop, but really I'm here to offer support for a great way to bring people together.
David, thank you. Folks, anybody else? Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Mark Blackburn. Assistant Dean of Students and Director of Diversity and Inclusion at Augustana University, part of Executive Director and President of Establishing Sustainable Connections. I just want to offer my support for this resolution and just want to give you a bit of information what we do here at our local universities. Just passed recently, 2017, there's been a lot of hate posters, discriminatory white nationalist or hate groups posters being into recruitment at these universities. Many students come to my office fearful, scared, from all different walks of life. And so, as I always tell them, we want to make this place as a system or they feel like they belong here, not just coming in, visiting, get on out of here, get your schooling and go. And so when students come to my office, they hear the rhetoric, they see what's going on in Pierre, and they're, just like some of our counterpartners here just said, that they're trying to make a living, earn some wages, raise a family, and value who they are as human beings. And so I support this resolution, and I urge you and encourage you to do the same thing as we try to make Sioux Falls a very robust, proactive, inclusive, and integrated community. I think if you come together, along with these great fine community and citizens here, we will move Sioux Falls to the next level. So thank you, and I hope we can pass this.
Thank you, Mark. Folks, anybody else? Welcome.
Sorry.
Okay.
My name is Migdad Mustafa. Like I said, sorry. My name is Migdad Mustafa. I'm originally from Sudan. I grew up here since I was 14 years old, 13 years old. 17 years now, coming on 18 years old. Joined the Marines after high school. Went to Iraq before I actually applied for my citizenship. Came back, got the citizenship, went to Afghanistan, came back again to Sioux Falls. And this is home. And the main reason why I do that is because as Sioux Falls residents taught us that this truly who you guys are. You know, it's kind of sad that we have to have a resolution to show that again, you know. Also, I truly do know that's truly how we are, but it actually finally touches me, telling me that thank you. There's people here who truly understand our pain as immigrants, as people of color, as foreigners, or whatever you want to call it. But most importantly, I want to tell you that this stuff that we are talking about do truly happen. Last week, standing outside of the Islamic Center of Sioux Falls, which I happen to be part of the board, a person drives by, slows down to almost rolling stop, looks at me, and points, I'm watching you. That was really sad. Because as much as we know there is always discrimination around, as much as we do see it, I never thought it came to that point. Being a Marine, it's kind of instant reaction. I did the same thing. I'm like, I'm watching you too. But I'm not, you know. I don't have time for that. I shouldn't have to do that, you know. I never felt the need to do that until he did that. So again, thank you for bringing this up. I do hope you do vote again on this. And I hope that we continue to show the real Sioux Falls and South Dakota way, the way that we are truly. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, McDad, and thank you for your service as well. We appreciate it. Folks, anybody else?
My name's Kenny Anderson, Jr. I'm a lifelong resident of Sioux Falls. It's good to see you all tonight. It's sad for me to have to be up here and talk about this because this is a city I love very much. But, you know, do we have racism here in Sioux Falls? Yes, we do. And as a city that is trying to encourage people of all different types to move to our city, The people that should be leading this effort should be you. Every one of you are a leader here. And we need to be able to come together. You are listening to your citizens right now that are saying there is an issue here. And I'm also a citizen here, and I'm telling you there's an issue here. And we need to deal with this. Mayor Huther, I know that you have tried to lead in some efforts. I know that we have a group called Thrive out there that has worked to come up with ideals on how to be more inclusive, how to encourage people of all types to move to Sioux Falls. When that group was started, I went to the leaders of that group and I asked to have at least a few people of the groups that they were trying to encourage to move here to have a seat at the table. That didn't happen. So I'm just saying right now is that we need to include the people that are here in the city. There's some very good groups out there, nonprofit groups, that are trying to do positive things here in the community, but they're not included. Take a look at those groups. If you want to encourage people of all types to move to Sioux Falls, to be a part of this community, to show that this community is a diverse community, and to show the entire nation that we can do it better, then these groups need to be included, and these people also need to be listened to. Thank you.
Counselor, thank you. Appreciate it. Folks, anybody else? Welcome.
Nick Weiland. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I would like to also show my support for this bill. I think in today's world, we're having some issues with diversity, and I think in Sioux Falls that we can really be a beacon for change and inclusion. I think we do have some problems with racism here. I believe we're all immigrants, unless you're Native American, and I hope you all can remember that as you try to include as many as you possibly can into our community. It's sad to see it come to this, and I hope that you can all find it in your hearts to include as many as possible in our city and the way that it functions. America's founded on immigrants. Most of us are, unless you're Native American, you came here from somewhere else. And I believe that we should always keep that in our hearts and in our minds. Thank you.
Nick, thank you. Folks, anybody else? Welcome.
City Council, Mayor, thank you very much for having this opportunity to actually come here and actually witness what's going on here. My name is Ishmael Mulamba. I've been in Sioux Falls since 2004, 2003. I lived here all my life. I tried to move to like Dallas, and I came back and I went to San Bernardino, California, and I still came back. I came here as a refugee from Congo. Lived in Zambia. Because of persecution, we ended up in Zambia and we sought asylum to actually come to the United States. The first time when we got to Sioux Falls, the city was very welcoming, and it still is, but with the same experience of me being here, we have actually witnessed other few stuff that we were not expecting when we came here. So it's, I started few businesses, sometimes, business, if you do good, if you have a crowd, if you have a crowd of people that could come actually and shop in your business, then you do good. But if you don't, then you go out. Actually, that's what happened to me. Right now, I own a cell phone business right on Marion Road there. Racism, yes, exists. I can tell you that as a business owner. Racism is very, very well existing here in Sioux Falls. And with something like that, it's just a step, saying that everybody is equal. Like God says, all human are created equal. That's the only thing I have to say today. And I would actually recommend you guys to vote yes on this resolution. Thank you very much.
Ishmael, thank you as well. We appreciate it. Welcome.
Mayor, councilors, I just want to echo this amazingly, beautifully diverse chorus of voices that we have just heard from that speak to what makes this city so amazing and what will grow us into the future. And with that, I look forward to seeing all of you support this and vote yes on it as well. And I should give my name too, shouldn't I? Thank you, Mayor Jolene Letcher.
Thank you, Jolene. We appreciate it. Folks, anybody else? Very good.
Good evening, Mayor and the Council and all the audience here. My name is Mustafa Colombo. I migrated to the United States in 2008 as an asylum seeker. We believe that America we understand and believed in is the America of freedom and freedom of justice and freedom of protection from discrimination and harm and harassment. I work for UFCW as a local labor union, and we have some of our president from AFCIO, as he introduced himself, and Mr. BJ Mutley, and we have some community members from Islamic, the directors of Sioux Falls Islamic Center. I would appeal to the chamber of the council here to support this resolution because as a foreigner, I believe today that America is home. We don't have anywhere else except here. I have 3 kids. I'm married here in the United States. Those kids are citizens of this country and this state and this city. They go to school. And in those schools, there are issues which have happened last year. I had to go to school to address. I'm speaking this because I understand that our children who are born in this country, do not know anywhere else except this country. And once they go to those schools, if we don't support this resolution in supporting of abolishing this discrimination which is taking place based on religion, I'm a Muslim. And I'm not afraid to say that. I'm proud of it because I believe that the liberty of this country promote that. And when we see our children go to school being discriminated based on their religion, it's a hurtful thing. I represent all large of employees who work for Smithfield. We all know about it. A lot of foreigners who are there, immigrants from all different walks of life, and they're part and parcel of this community, contributing to this society. We have graduates who are graduating in this country who have no opportunity to go into a better workforce, as our sisters stated there. They cannot be employed. I'm not talking about me who have graduated outside, but those who have graduated here in the United States, they're not being given opportunity on the same level as everyone else. And it's very open in our societies. Our neighbors discriminate against us. As a Muslim, my children are afraid to dress as they're supposed to dress. And this city, we believe that this is a city where it's a home. As a home, we should be accepted. There's no better place than home. And there's no any other place they know as this place. We have employees in the Sioux Falls, working class people, who are working for less than what they're supposed to be earning. But they have nowhere else to turn, and they feel that the city is backing off from them. I would appeal and request the mayor and the city of Chamber here who are sitting here at the city council, please being supportive of this resolution. It will bring a very big change because we are here to stay and we are very instrumental in this society and we'll continue to do so. So give us what we feel that it is entitled on an equal base because we feel very marginalized and we want to be accepted as everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you, Mustafa. Appreciate it. Folks, anybody else? Councilor Starr, would you like to make a motion to
Mr.
approve?
Mayor, I would move to approve item 48, a resolution of the City of Sioux Falls supporting a more inclusive community.
Thank you.
Second.
Council Chair Kiley has seconded that. Councilor?
Yes, absolutely. There's not much left to say. They did a great job tonight. Although I do want to say that my daughter was more than happy to smile at me several times to remind me that she is Native American and an enrolled member of the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe. So she was more than happy to point that out. I know there is an amendment coming, Councilor Neitzert has for us, that cleans up some of the wording and makes it a little more easy to understand and read through. And I feel it's a friendly amendment, so if you don't mind.
Thank you. Councilor Neitzert, would you like to make that amendment?
Yes, I will. I will just say, as I was reading it this weekend, I just noticed a small grammatical issue. It's nothing more than grammatical cleanup. I'm going to make a motion to amend by replacing the sixth whereas statement with the following. Whereas we support and encourage the citizens of Sioux Falls to establish and maintain a welcoming and inclusive community and to foster respect for all persons regardless of race, religion, creed, gender identification, sexual orientation, age, disability, ancestry, and country of origin.
Second, Erickson.
Thank you, Councilor Vice Chair. Councilor Neitzert has made a motion to amend, and Councilor Vice Chair Erickson has seconded that. Any discussion on the amendment? A roll call vote, please, on the amendment.
Council members Kiley?
Yes.
Neitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing? Yes. Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Thank you. That has passed unanimously 8-0. Any more discussion on the amended motion? Council Chair.
First of all, I'd like to thank Councilor Starr for bringing this forward and for the opportunity to review it as well, too, and his acceptance of some of our comments and incorporating some of the changes that we suggested. I think the end result is very good. We as a Sioux Falls community are much stronger because of the diversity that exists within our community. Just as a human race, we are much stronger as a population, human population, the greater the number of variations that exist among us. I could launch into a biology lesson because I used to do that for years, but I'm going to spare my colleagues on that. But Sioux Falls should be a welcoming place for all. And I, for one, appreciate everybody that's here this evening as members of our Sioux Falls community.
Council Chair, thank you. A roll call vote, please, on the amended motion.
Council members Kiley?
Yes.
Neitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Thank you, Council. That has passed unanimously 8-0. Any new business, Council?
Move adjournment.
There's been a motion to adjourn.
Second.
It has been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Sioux Falls. Make it a great night.